And this dish is probably the easiest Filipino dish you can make. It's called nilaga. Nilaga essentially means boiled, so boiled meat. So I'm making nilagang baka, which is, baka is beef, so I'm making boiled beef essentially. So it's a beef stew. When all said and done, this is a Filipino version of beef stew. Beef short ribs is what I use because I want to have something that's fat. Look at that. Look how much fat is in there. You know that's going to dissolve into the soup and make it so good. All right, so 7 is probably the max of these short ribs, and these are monster short ribs that you need. All you really need for your vegetables, honestly, is just potatoes and cabbage, or peche, bok choy. I use 2 onions for the sabaw, the soup, the broth, and I use peppercorns, whole peppercorns. But I also use ground pepper as well. The 2 new things I've recently added to this, and for some reason it tastes fantastic, is now I add carrots. It gives it some color too, it gives it a pop of color, but it also makes the soup, the sabaw, the broth, makes it taste really good. And I also added corn. Now I'll chop this corn up into little pieces, probably chop it into fourths. You can use, I mean, this is a lot of vegetables, so it'll fill up the pot, so you have to kind of see what size of pot you have and how many vegetables you can actually add. So two little corn on the cob pieces is just enough for this. So right now I'd recommend just hitting the like button so you can save this video, so in the future, you know, when you're trying to figure out, I need to find that recipe again, look under your like videos, you'll find this one. Easy to find, easy to make. I essentially just gonna put the ribs in here so they fit. And because they are so high, I might stack them up like this. Just to make sure it all fits in my pot, that's all. All right. Now, I'm gonna cut my onion. So I just take rough chop with my onions here, toss them in. Doesn't have to be perfect, I don't have to do it the same exact way every single time. I'm just trying to get the onions in here. You notice I didn't put a measurement for the water, because to me, once I get everything in this pot, I just fill the water up so I have at least 1 inch of water above the meat. So you want to see this here? So I'll fill it up so the water goes at least 1 inch above the meat. I want to have some room so it can boil, and the meat, of course, will reduce as it goes, as it raises. So I add my peppercorns in here. I want it to be 1 inch above the meat. I always start with cold water for anything I'm doing that I'm stewing. I put it on high heat. I'm gonna wait for this to get to boil. This takes about 20 minutes for it to get to a boil because it's such a large pot, a lot of water, a lot of things going on. 15, 20 minutes. Once it gets to a boil, I want to skim off the impurities. I'm gonna reduce it down to a simmer, so a medium-low heat, and I'm gonna add a couple more ingredients, okay? Yeah, now it's boiling, just skim all the impurities off the top. So I haven't added anything else, I haven't added any other flavors. I'm just trying to get all this. All the impurities out. After I'm skimming, that's when I start adding stuff. So I add, right here, this is a 1/3 of a cup of fish sauce, Patis. I add it directly into the pot. And then I add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I know. But you know what? My wife's Filipino, she said this is the best nilaga she's ever had. So I add a little soy sauce in there. And the last thing I add right now at this time is just a little bit of salt. Salt with any type of stew, you just gotta make sure it's a little salty. So right now, while it's cooking, I'll leave it the way it is now. I'll mix it, then I'll cover it up. And essentially it's 1 hour and 45 minutes till I'll open it up again. Oh, one quick thing is, once I cover it up, I reduce it to a medium-low heat. This meal is actually a 45-minute meal if you have a pressure cooker. For me, it's 1 hour and 45 minutes now for it to stew in the water here for 1 hour and 45 minutes because I don't have a pressure cooker. But with this meal, like I said, it's the easiest meal. I could walk away now for 1 hour and 45 minutes, just coming back every once in a while to check to make sure that the fire hasn't died underneath or the liquid level hasn't gone too low. It's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's been stewing in there. Look at all that. It's reduced a little bit here. see the meat seems pretty tender. But I want to keep it covered so the meat tenderizes faster, and then all those flavors get concentrated in there as it reduces. All right, let's prep the vegetables. Okay. And I always add carrots first because they cook a little. To me, they're a little tougher than a potato and they cook a little longer. So I'll add them there just when I have about 20 minutes left to go in the cooking. So I have about 20 minutes left to go right now, so I'll add the carrots. Then at 15 minutes left, I'll add the potatoes. And then at 5 minutes left, I'll add the corn and the cabbage. All right. So it's not even that much. It's just a few carrots, right? I have 20 minutes left to cook right now. So I'm just gonna add the carrots in. I keep the skins on the potatoes. I just wash off any excess dirt that may be on the potato. 3 potatoes might be enough. That's plenty right there. Now the corn, surprisingly, corn cooks really fast. You don't need that much corn in here. Like I said, it's an additional vegetable that you don't really, it's a nice to have. To me, the must-haves, again, are the cabbage and potatoes. All right, carrots have been there for about 4 or 5 minutes now. I'm gonna add the potatoes in too. And that's all about timing here at the very end. Let me see here. I love this thing because it just makes life easier. Yeah, 3 potatoes is plenty, and I think the amount of corn I have is plenty too. So, just want to make sure everything is submerged into the water. Once that comes up to the boil, it's another 15 minutes. So just the core, I try to avoid the core here. That core piece, that's the only thing I take out. The rest, I keep in. Now you can dice this however you want. I keep it simple and just cut it up like that because I'm just gonna stack all the cabbage at the very end on the very top of everything. So I'm gonna put the corn in next. Let's see here. We have about 15 minutes total. Corn I'll put in with about 5 minutes left, and cabbage I'll put in with about 5 minutes left. So let's just cover this up and wait. So I checked the flavor. Just needs a little more fish sauce. I better check this. You don't want to overcook the potatoes either because I cut them kind of small, so they might be cooking faster. Not even been 7 minutes yet, but yeah. Look, you can see kind of all that stuff in the broth there. That's the bone marrow dissolving into the broth, giving it extra flavor, which I like at all. We have about 8 minutes left. I do want to check the potato just because I don't want them too soft. Okay, that's still about, that's probably about 4 or 5 minutes left, so that's good. Let me go put the corn in now. Not that much corn, just a little bit. All right. Corn cooks pretty fast. I used to think it takes forever to cook corn. Nope, it cooks fast. Literally minutes. If you leave it in too long, it's gonna get hard. Like shrimp, you don't wanna overcook the corn, you don't wanna overcook shrimp. I don't know if that's a nugget or not, but I learned that the hard way. And I just put the cabbage on top. This way, I mean, the cabbage will slowly cook in. It's all in there on top. Right now, and just cover it. And then so I have about 6 minutes left until it's done. That would give us a total time of 2 hours of cooking. So there's about a minute left. I'll try to smush down all the cabbage to make sure it's in the soup. And you want it to be a little salty because the rice is going to temper it down. It's kind of a blank canvas. So you have that white rice to go with the nilaga. All right, see, now I'm just finishing up the cabbage here. It's still another minute to go. So we checked the sabao, the sauce, the soup, the stew right here. And it is delicious, but it still needs to be a little more delicious. So I know you can add this to the side, but I always like to add it directly in. So I'm adding just a little more fish sauce. I'm gonna incorporate that into the stew here. Stir this around a little bit to get some of the stuff on the bottom on the top.